The truth of the matter, and you said it so well, Dr. Vibe, there are countless Black, African/Caribbean students, international students who are here in our cities who are struggling.
It's hard to know because we don't have like the data to say what is the state of Black health before and after. And that's something that we've been advocating for, right? We need better race-based data that's done in a way that serves us, because race-based data has been collected on different groups in ways that actually cause harm, but we need it to be done with us in a way that serves us. Better race-based data that's done in a way that serves us, because race-based data has been collected on different groups in ways that actually cause harm, but we need it to be done with us in a way that serves us. Better race-based data that's done in a way that serves us, because race-based data has been collected on different groups in ways that actually cause harm.
Okay, everybody, we are having a little technical difficulty here, so just give me a second here.
Race-based data has been collected on different groups in ways that
Okay, everyone, are you hearing any echoing? If you're live with us right now, because I was hearing some echoing at the beginning and I don't like that. So if you're live,
Okay, everyone, are you
I'm hearing
any
echoing. Okay, hold on. All right, I think I resolved the issue. I don't hear any echoing anymore. So what I'm going to do, family, is I'm going to do a proper start of this. So what we're going to do is this. So we'll be back in just a second.
The truth of the matter, and you said it so well, Dr. Vibe, there are countless Black, African/Caribbean students, international students who are here in our cities who are struggling.
it's hard to know because we don't have like the data to say what is the state of Black health before and after. And that's something that we've been advocating for, right? We need better race-based data that's done in a way that serves us, because race-based data has been collected on different groups in ways that actually cause harm, but we need it to be done with us in a way that serves us.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And since 2020, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And I feel, as always, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting on Sunday, December 29th, the last Sunday of 2024. And the year has gone by so fast. But you know what? We're glad to have every one of you supporting us. So, you know, we're doing Black Canada Talking every Sunday afternoon around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And you know our mainstay. He is here. Cesar Ndema-Moussa. What is up, Cesar?
Hi, Dr. Va. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone, brothers and sisters and allies of the cause. Thank you always. And yes, it's already the last Sunday of the year. Hard to believe, but yeah.
It's here. It's here. How is your How's your holiday season been?
So far, so good. We received visit from the in-law, the patriarch on my wife's family, coming from Georgia, and basically, and he is a political brother, actually, a political elder, I should say. Of course, I should actually even think of probably inviting him on the show, because me and him talk about politics all the time and culture all the time.
That'd be great. I'd love that. That would be a great idea. That would be fantastic. Already in the room. Good evening, Dr. Tachi. Well, it's still afternoon here, but we'll take evening or wherever you're watching. Good day, good day, good day. So it's been a good holiday season. Have you winded down?
A good season, of course. I was forced to take vacation, but it's important. And allow me very quickly to one topic that we didn't talk about enough. And I want to say I apologize, but really it's the reflection of our society. We didn't talk enough about mental health, and notably the importance not just of vacation, but surrounding yourself of quality people who will care for you and will help to bring you, to elevate you to a higher level so that you also can do the same. And the other thing, and now we really didn't talk about this, but this is not the nature of, the nature of even what we talk about, the importance of relationships. So relationships, because this time of the year, yes, there is the holiday, the coming together, the eating together, but it's also the time of the year where a lot of people wear masks, a lot of unresolved conflicts and issues get buried in and resurface in January. January, where, if you recall, Dr. Vab, I told you I'm going to be doing some presentations regarding mental health and relationships, not to be addressing depression, something called Blue Monday, addressing a rise in suicides, domestic violence, etc. So let's work on our relationships, and even being in couple. Of course, it's not easy. Arguments happen. I have that in my relationship, but let us work hard at forgiving one another again and again, of course, with boundaries. I'm not saying the opposite, and always working on resettling and reconnecting and better communicating. Because yes, it is. I mean, when we look at, for example, and we're going to talk about it, the dire economic situation so many people find themselves in. Wow, we know when the economy gets worse, the inside of homes tend to get worse. And it's not just because the price of eggs has increased.
Mm-hmm.
The level of communication and etc. tends to get worse.
So true. So true. I just want to shout out to everybody who's watching live. And, I'm not going to get into deep detail, but in the last less than 10 hours, I've had 4 events hit me.
Of
people. I'll just do high level quickly, and this season is not always a joyous season for everybody. There's a gentleman who I communicated with over the last few years who's a member of a prominent fatherhood organization in the United States. It's based in Atlanta, Georgia. And I found out from the gentleman who runs the organization that he passed at 46 years old on
Oh,
December 26th. I met two gentlemen this
my
morning.
condolences.
Yeah, two gentlemen this morning who I communicate on a regular basis with. One gentleman, a lady friend of his, who's 26 years old, was killed yesterday, and leaves
Oh
a
man.
9-year-old 9 month or I think a 9-year-old child. Another gentleman, he's this last year has been his toughest year economically, and it's having a little bit of a strain in his relationship with his partner. And it's a deeper story than that. And then
Yes.
I just found out someone who I know who's a lady entrepreneur. She has been exposed to 2 incidences of domestic violence in the last year.
If you can't forgive, and you should force yourself to forgive, and especially if there is domestic violence. And yes, men can also be victims of domestic violence, but it's still majority of cases, women. Leave. You don't need a firearm pointed at you or a knife. Don't wait for a fist in your face or anywhere in your body. Don't even wait for that slappy. And I say this notably as I know women who are educated, who are in management and senior leadership positions, in the C suite, like literally women who have that C as title in the organization, women who are praised for the beauty of every skin tone, white to black and in between, and different backgrounds, who are victims of domestic violence. So it can be anyone, just as even among brothers. I have a friend, my apologies. I have a friend who had confided to me years ago. And you look at that brother and you look at his wife, who is a smaller frame, shorter, smaller frame. Of course, it's his version, but he was the one who was a victim, including of hits. So, yes, please. And it's easy from my vantage point to say what I'm saying, but let us not forgive to a point where it becomes self harming. Let us not endure to a point it becomes self harming. Because even if we can endure and forgive, let us not forget there is a little one often, or little ones, younger ones, even if the teenagers or 18, will get impacted by what they see. And worst of all, will might reproduce it because they come to normalize it in the trauma of that experience.
Yeah. So I'm doing today's conversation with a very heavy heart, but I just wanted to share some of the world that I encounter. And it just seems that this time of the year has just been, I don't know why, but it just seems a lot of things are happening. And I just today has just been, it's been a day. it's, it's been a day for me already. So, we're gonna make sure we get through this stuff. So just remember, everybody, not everyone's going through ha 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 ha. But and I think the more I go through this thing called life, the more people I see that are challenged. So
And
let's
so
hope.
many people, as I always talk about it, behind the smiles and the happy faces and the people are wearing a mask. Many people are wearing a mask of survival, a mask of deception, a mask of, we know people, we know and are talking to people right now who will commit suicide in January, or will it be in February or March? Doesn't matter. We know too many people wear masks.
All right. So let's move forward in spirit. First of all, as always, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I appear on, please feel free to reach out and do that. And email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. A few moments ago, we put up the Dr. Tachi's in the house, and Dr. Tachi runs a great platform called Indie Soup TV or Indie Soup Media. And you can catch that on indiesoupmedia.tv, or you can go to the YouTube channel Indie Soup Media, and you'll catch out contributions by about 30 independent content creators. And they celebrated their 8th month anniversary on Christmas Day with over 22,000 YouTube subscribers. Also of importance, if you want to get in touch with Cesar, there's his email address, president@rootsandculturecanada.com, and Facebook, facebook.com/Cesar Remy Emery. All right. So what we're doing today, we're going to cover some different areas of the past year and how they impacted not only Blacks in where they were happening, but maybe Blacks globally too. So the first area we're going to check out is some of the biggest news for Blacks in 2024. 47, Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau in Canada, and the state of democracy. How do you want to start it off, Cesar?
Well, how can I put it? It would be very easy to say that Trump is the man of the year, because absolutely he succeeded in being reelected and by thus avoid being held accountable for what should have sent him to jail. But I would start with actually talking about another man that we didn't mention here, who I would say is one of the, I'm not going to say the greatest, because we can say it's Trump, one of the greatest winners of 2024 in the ironic and quite hypocritical person of Elon Musk. The deregulations that happen in terms of the American justice system at the Supreme Court level, notably with, let's just say, I don't want to use the N word. So those who understand, a certain Clarence Thomas, making it easier for private donors to political parties, and notably by us, Elon Musk, whizzing through the American system. Elon Musk, technically African American, and I say this without any insult to our brothers and sisters in the US, but kind of like taking on the type of mantle that he claims, mocking the system, mocking the terms. South African who became rich through his parents due to the apartheid, coming to America, becoming truly rich and becoming the richest man in the world due to government assistance. People forget this, and I'll give a very good example here, which is Elon Musk did not invent Tesla per se. He just came in, maneuvered, and now we associate Tesla just as SpaceX truly to Elon Musk, among other companies. But he invested in Trump, and there was even, I think, an article saying about how, he basically would have said that if Trump doesn't win, he is F, quote, to the D, So Elon Musk is, and this is what we see here, he's basically Trump's right-wing man more than his vice president, J.D. Vance. And here, Trump, of course, the assassination attempts, the Republican convention, but especially the attacks, the insults, notably on our Haitian brothers and sisters, the very garbage-like language, which is, even the most even the most pessimist of people talking about politicians all being liars, Trump taking it to a whole other level, and still American anger and frustration and notably, so many millions of those who would have voted Democrat not showing up. We can lay a lot of criticism on Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's campaign, and notably Joe Biden. As I said, he failed his first job, which was January 20th at the end of the day, or January 21st. Donald Trump should have been arrested. Because if he was a Mohammed or an Obama, they would have been arrested if they were actually alive by January 20th, after January 6, 2021. So what we end up seeing here, of course, Trump, a lot of nations in the world, but also companies, such as when we're going to talk about EDI, companies gearing up for the return of Trump to the White House. And yeah.
So I've got a number of conversation pieces for you today. So, and make sure you drink that water because you're sounding a little raspy. So make sure you drink your water.
Kind of like it. Gives me that deeper voice that I don't usually have.
So let me ask a conversation piece. How will 47's policies and rhetoric impact Black communities from your view in the United States over the next 4 years?
My brother, let me take actually, let me give credit to another brother of ours. He's a comedian. I believe his name is Geoffrey or something like that. He's a comedian. I saw something on Instagram, how he made an Instagram post regarding all those Black Republicans who were basically deflecting, navigating, aka lying for Trump and his campaign. Look at Donald Trump. How many Black people nation picks for his new cabinet? Unless I'm wrong, none of them.
There is one, I think, from the housing and urban development.
Oh, there is one. Housing and urban development. Almost not cliche. I mean, if such as in France, me growing up in France, more than once, the Minister of Sports accidentally turned out to be a Black person. Don't get me wrong. Don't refuse a job. You offered a job. You're being offered to become a secretary or a minister in a government. Say yes, thank you. But why does he have to be in that position? So that's the first thing, But also, we can already see that the men, and here I can't help but mix with our third topic when we talk about culture wars, a man who basically was notably elected on a campaign of retribution and rage, notably talking about against DEI, as it's called in the US, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The people that he's taking for nominations, his picks, are literally all DEI hires. White and loyalty to Trump. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Yeah. And I say white, not just of skin, but also of mindset, because we look at people Vivek or Kash Patel. Yeah. So when we look at this, no, it will have an impact. I think, to quote my sister who lives in New York, it is one thing to disagree with the government in place, such as Biden, and even disagree with Kamala Harris. But it's quite a different thing to vote for a man who has such documented history of anti-Black racism. And yes, Black Republicans would point out that he gave X amount of money to HBCUs. But please, this is a man who will never apologize for calling for the execution of the 5 innocents of our brothers, aka not the Central Park, exonerated 5 from Central Park. This is a man who, we saw how he berated Black female, and we notably saw how he talked down to Kamala Harris, not only as a woman, but notably, and I hate the term of color, as a Black woman. So I think for many Black people, and I think we should hope for a government to fail. I hope Donald Trump succeed, because the very success of what he promised in campaign, reality pill that so many people will need to become woke. And as he said it already himself, what is it that he said again? He already talked about not being able to promise, being able to bring down the price. Yet that is on which he campaigned about. So yeah,
All right. So then my next
I
conversation,
think for
my
many
next,
of our Black people, there will be a reality pill that will come no matter how angry or manipulated, and it's very much manipulated they are about issues in terms of focusing on small slash increments, anecdotal elements, and missing the big picture.
okay. Then also too, then my next conversation piece is, what does 47's reelection mean for global perceptions of democracy, especially regarding race and inequality?
Oh, that's an excellent question, my brother. It is terrible. It is terrible because 2024, that was called the year of elections that can literally change the direction of the world in terms of a conflict between democracy versus authoritarianism. Democracy lost. I think the first time, I might be wrong. No, I was going to say since 1945. No, I think since 1991. I want to say the fall of the Berlin Wall, 1989, if not the fall of USSR, is the first time there are more nations under autocratic rule than under democracy. And even when we say democracy, democracy is never a perfect thing. We just need to look at the United States, for example. But democracy is always the better option to autocracy, no matter who thinks they're being advantaged under autocratic rule. So the impact of someone like Trump, wow. And it's not a bashing of character. This is what Trump has shown the world and has led him to be elected. The nature of language, already it is shown how, even in elementary school, many schoolboys have become quite aggressive slash harassing towards girls, notably under the excuse of, well, if the president can do it, why can't I? Uh, we notably have in Trump a man, and some people talk about political trials, and yet Hunter Biden got also found guilty to the point that his father had to pardon him. So no, it's not political trials. It was just badly done. But in Trump, we have a man convicted of fraud. We have a man, and I don't care so much that he was unfaithful to his wife, but as a politician, not only unfaithful, but the nature of unfaithfulness towards a sex worker, a porn star, whose name I didn't know, Stormy Daniels. I didn't know of her. I had never heard of her name before Trump. Unfaithful with a porn star when his wife is pregnant, from what I read. And of course, the financial lying, cheating, and insurrection. Like, the list is long. And I didn't even say sexual assault slash statutory rape. What kind of example is that showing to the world when America likes to claim being the leader of democracy, the leader of the free world? And of course, the hypocrisy. The Republicans were gearing up with an army of lawyers to contest the result of the elections, claiming if it's fair elections. But as soon as they win, they don't challenge if the elections were fair or not. And notably, we went from talking about a landslide win, which absolutely it seemed like, and then as the results come out, yes, they won the elections, yes, they won the popular vote, yes, they won the House and the Senate, but it became much smaller, and notably Trump winning by the smallest margin of any president, I think, of the last couple of decades, if not since the century. So the very narrative that Trump brings is one that doesn't become dangerous per se because he might do worse than in his first term. but we've already seen his first term. And as a result of human habit, if I can do bad once and you put me in the same position where I can do bad twice, why wouldn't I do worse than the first time?
Good point. Let's flip it over to not Pierre, Justin Trudeau. So let's take a look at this. How has Trudeau's government, in your lens, addressed the system of racism and systemic inequality in Canada?
Well, first and foremost, despite all the challenges that he's having, including since notably the resignation of former finance minister and vice prime minister Chrystia Freeland, yes, Trudeau might resign. I have a hard time seeing how he could stay as leader, prime minister, and leader of the Liberals and conducting the government till next fall. So, yes, he might resign, but let's be honest. Trudeau not only recognized systemic racism, but he also allocated for millions in funds to Black community and Black organization. But we must question the way, the nature, and the mismanagement of such. And in saying that, we must question the true felt impact for the average Black person in Canada. And to that, we can say it is negative. It is not even halfway there, it is negative. Some people did benefit, but in terms of the majority, and we should say the vast majority, most Black people did not see the impact. So, yes, I can be here as an activist, a community leader, um, a senior leader in the professional sectors that I walk in, a consultant, even having the honor of representing Black Canada at the United Nations for the Permanent Forum for People of African Descent. That doesn't mean anything to the brother and sister, and notably the children down the street, in terms of what has the Trudeau government really done for me. But the terrible thing in me saying that, we have every reason to expect that the likely winner of the next Canadian elections, the conservative of Pierre Poilievre, would deny systemic racism despite all documented data, proofs, testimonies, reports, studies, etc., you name it. The denial of systemic racism strongly doubt that Black lives in Canada would be faring better under the Conservatives than under the Conservatives of Poilievre than under the Liberals of Trudeau. And I say this with respect to the fact that provincial Conservatives, such as here in Ontario under Doug Ford, it's absolutely not the same as federal Conservatives under Poilievre would be. It is not the same. Doug Ford is in Toronto, surrounded by the GTA. He needs the Black vote. He, aka Pierre Poilievre, does he need the Black vote at the federal? The question, my friends, is although, yes, Conservatives, as anyone, such as the nationalist government of la CAQ, Coalition Avenir Québec of François Legault, anyone, anyone welcomes the Black vote, but it doesn't mean that everyone needs it. So that makes a big difference, even when saying Conservatives.
Okay. So then looking for what do you feel are the main challenges for Black Canadians in 2025? And what role, if any, does the government play in addressing them?
I will give an answer which I hope nobody takes this as a deflection because I never deflect. I address issues head on. But I will answer this by asking this question. To what extent do the Jewish community, the Chinese community, the Korean community, the Indo-Pakistani community, and let's say the Filipino or uh, Arab Muslim from Gulf countries communities care about who is in government? They don't. They have strong communities that have relations with each. If we look at Canada, for example, and Dr. Vibe, you are in Toronto. I know you will agree with what I'm going to say here in Toronto and GTA. There are SIKH party members in all political parties. They don't care. The community benefits because at the base, it's not some it's not some strategic calculation. It's about building strong communities. So whoever is in power, likely the conservatives. I've seen conservative governments before, whether we talk federally about Stephen Harper or we talk provincially, such as Mike Harris. We have seen, we have struggled, and we have survived, and we shall again. But the question remains the same today as 10 years ago, as 50 years ago, as 100 years ago. What is the state of the Black community? How strong and connected are we? And putting the efforts for our success. As a Black community leader, as a Pan Africanist, that is what I address under so many topics, notably the three cancers of the Black psyche: entertainment, consumerism, and religion. As long as those three cancers dominate not us as individuals, as a community, we will not be respected because we cannot be respected because we do not respect ourselves. I mean, we're talking about how would whoever is in government will impact the Black community, and yet too many in our communities will rightfully complain about poverty, if not how expensive life is, and yet monthly as yearly waste money on wigs and hair extensions just as on brand name running shoes that are neither essential nor they can afford truly to have a quality of life for themselves and for the children. I'm not talking about cars. I'm not even talking about TVs. I'm talking about useless trip to some exotic place such as in the Caribbean, exotic, aka going back home to a Black nation. I'm talking about the power of the dollar to increase one's safety, the power of connections and community life and being involved, the power of, at the very beginning, stronger family and community units.
All right. Want to continue on then. Do you feel Black communities worldwide are benefiting from democracy, or is systemic racism undermining its promise?
It is not that Black communities are profiting or not profiting from democracy. When we look at what has happened in the Sahel countries of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, the question becomes whether or not Black people are willing to have the complex geopolitical, but as well uh, socio-cultural, religious, etc. conversations to emancipate themselves. There is an intellectual from my birth country, Natalie Yamb, if I recall her name properly, and I apologize if I don't, because she is a Pan Africanist. She said something that was very profound regarding African youth, notably African youth, too many of them dying in the Mediterranean Sea to get to Europe, aka the West. And what she said was, unfortunately, the majority of African youth don't want to change the system. They want to position themselves to benefit of the system. It's the same thing that we see too often here when, for example, and I give you an example here in Ottawa, How do you explain that when what's his name, Abdirahman Abdi, the brother who got killed by a white police officer, Ottawa police officer in 2016, when in 2020, at his verdict, the white police officer was found not guilty, despite the amount of evidences, including the coroner inquest that recently ended, finding him to be at fault. But a coroner inquest is not there to sentence with guilt. There were more white people protesting in the street for this black man who got killed than there were black people, and notably Somali of Somali background, as Abdirahman Abdi was. That is a problem of black consciousness. It is a problem of black consciousness that without it, we keep having black political analysts who are conservatives openly lying, manipulating, deflecting, bending over to justify the lies and the actions of someone like Donald Trump for their own interest of being, excuse my language, I have to use it in reference notably to our dear leader, Brother Malcolm X, to be the House Negro in the Republican House. But this is also the same as here in Canada, when we have black people party will stay in a party that denies systemic racism. Meanwhile, they can be and they have been themselves victims of racism. But for their own political interest, zip it.
Got
So
it.
yeah,
All right. So just to end this segment, then before we move on, we take a break and have to get some water. How do global black movements in Africa, the Caribbean, and Europe connect with the struggles of Black Americans and Black Canadians? How can we make it a true global movement?
well, as they say, no matter, as I often say, no matter the storm and the rain, the sun always comes through. Unfortunately, it is a human reality of a pendulum. Someone like Trump is actually good for black consciousness. Someone like Trump is good for black consciousness because, on one side, and I'm speaking here notably to the patriarch of my wife's family coming from Atlanta, in which I told him there is one thing I like about Donald Trump. There is one thing I absolutely like about Donald Trump, and I will always say it. He goes beyond white privilege in exposing the corruption of the American/Western/democracy system, in terms of which, despite all his antics that the average white person can't even imagine committing, and even the privileged, aka millionaire, average billionaire, can't even imagine getting by with, he does. So what this creates is, with someone like Trump, and I gave an example to his reference to aka shithole countries, we cannot pretend not to know. We cannot pretend not to see. We're talking about a man who wants to support police, aka Blue Lives Matter, to the point of impunity in regards to protests, and even with consideration of sending the army on peaceful protesters. So yes, the black community will benefit. And how to reconnect among one another, it would be easy for me to simply say, while going to the United Nations, as we do, to advocate for blacks in different countries of the world in regards to the decade, and in this case is 2025, the second decade for people of African descent. But that's high and fancy and beautiful. The reality is the interconnection that we can have among organizations and on platforms such as you, Dr. Vibe, to connect he or she who is a brother, a sister, or an ally. More and more white people are having, through interracial relationships, but also friendships, they're having relatives by blood, just as by choice, who are black. So it becomes a choice based on mindset and courage to stand up and say, hey, let me be part of the action. Forget thoughts and prayers. It doesn't work. It can soothe the soul. It can make one person feel good. Thoughts and prayers don't work. Taking action, being on the ground, supporting the cause, notably with money. That's what the difference does. And being that example, that role model, being, as our brother Michael Jackson said, man in the mirror. Dare to be who you claim to be about. Let's not just raise our fists, claim Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Malcolm X, etc., hero and shiro. Let us dare to be so.
So we are going to take a break because Cesar needs to drink some water. And we are going to come back in just a moment. And then we're going to take a look at our next conversation topic on some of the biggest news stories for Blacks in 2024. We're going to look at the state of Black entertainment beyond that guy named Diddy. So keep it tight. We'll be back in a short second.
Hi everyone. I was just on the Dr. Vibe show a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to talk about how wonderful the experience was. I was there to talk about a Buy Blacks article, but what I really appreciated about being on the Dr. Vibe morning show was that very quickly as my story started to unfold, Dr. Vibe was able to pivot, ask really interesting questions to give the context to the audience and listener about why the article is personal to me, who I am as an author and writer, and give all of that additional context so that the audience understands the perspective that I'm speaking from, which I think is very, very important in journalism. It was a warm experience and invitation. I had a wonderful time being on, and I would recommend anyone else interested in participating on the Dr. Vibe morning show do so, because it's a wonderful time.
All right. Thank you for your support, Hilary LeBlanc of Hilary LeBlanc Media. And thank you so much. One of the people we had on the conversation this year, I believe. But we are back, Black Canada Talking, and we are hanging out with Cesar Ndema-Moussa. He is not 100%, but he's pushing through. I hope he got his water on his break. That's why I wanted that break, so he could get some water. And again, if you want to get in touch with Cesar, there is his email address, president@rootsandculturecanada.com, facebook.com/Cesar Emery. So our next conversation topic, looking back at 2024 as it's almost coming to an end, the state of Black entertainment beyond Diddy. So I want to start off with you, this conversation topic under here. Is Black representation in Hollywood and beyond improving, or are we seeing stagnation or regression?
Let us remind our brothers, sisters, and allies that Dr. Vibe does not provide me the questions ahead of time. So when I'm here saying that's a good question, there's no, we know
there's no press. We do conversation. And just before this, look what Dr. Tachi says. This should be interesting. So she's waiting for your answer on that, and you know she's going to be chiming in.
Yes, there's no. I have a phone that I'm like Googling or whatever you want to call it. So this is we are very much live. So first, I'm going to surprise many people who know me here. I'm going to give my respect and my thanks to a brother that I criticize often, and rightfully, as always. A certain, my gosh, why am I having a memory blank here? Oh, Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry, brothers and sisters, I invite you to watch his movie on Netflix, the 368 or
I'll find it. Actually, ironically, at our family get together, we watched that movie. They played that movie, and I'm hearing even from people who are critics of Tyler Perry, they are commending him on that movie.
There you go. So I thank the brother. I support him for more. We need more such. 6888. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sister Dr. Tachi. Thank you. Please watch the movie. Um, the patriarch of my wife family, I got him to watch it. Slow start, whatever one can think, but honestly, worth to watch to the very end. Uh, I don't often talk about him. Brother Dr. Umar Johnson laid some criticism. I invite him to rewatch it, but really to actually watch it.
Dr. Umar's in under a little bit of criticism from his from some stuff here, but that's another conversation.
There you go. There you go. Now, to truly answer your question, as I say this, let's not be hypocritical. When we see the fact of Diddy, aka Can't Stop, Won't Stop, well, we see what's happening. But even at the same time, when we see, and this may again surprise people because this is not one of my topics of conversations, American football, a young college player by the name of Travis Hunter having a child by his white girlfriend, and receipts, evidence coming out of her multiple cheating, but also behavior, comments, etc., which lead to say that she is only into him for money. Meanwhile, he's truly lusting over her sexually and or racially. Is it stagnation? Is it improvement? I'm neither positivist nor negativist, pessimist, sorry. I'm a realist. And as a realist, certain things must be said. Let us speak about one of the biggest stories in Black entertainment in terms of Bronny James. I am not a LeBron James fan on the field. I'm a fan of him off the field in terms of his community activism, standing up for the Black community, absolutely. As a player, and it's no disrespect at all, I prefer Curry just as Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, you name it. But I am so glad that he got to play with his son, even though it was for a few games. And let's be honest, that said, Giannis Antetokounmpo has his brother playing, and we can also say he doesn't have the level, but he's warming the bench. Your heart condition, a malaise, a serious malaise, but let's also recognize it was a business move, aka, as I was informed yesterday at a friend's get together, the number one NBA jersey that was sold was Bronny James of the Lakers. The kid is a millionaire without the talent in the field that he's in. But that's okay. No hate. Happy for the father and son. But that said, we also must look at, when we talk about Black entertainment, the story about Diddy. Diddy in terms of, how can I put it? Unfortunately, Diddy will cast doubt and shade regarding Black entertainment of that era, the 90s and beyond to today. Meanwhile, Diddy only represents himself. And when I say he only represents himself, I mean, I forgive people who were naive, but I knew about his parties since my mid-20s, that I was a bouncer, that I was a bodyguard, that I knew of strippers in Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, who, to the surprise of many, would turn down going to Diddy's parties because it was more than a party. I had heard about stories of people, women, drinking a substance from their glass and not remembering what happened after. Tragic. If it's effectively revealed truthful, with proper justice, because we should not condemn the brother. And at the same time, we also must address the environment around these black celebrities and the sense of impunity. We were talking about a certain Donald Trump being brought back to the White House. What kind of message does he send to XYZ male out there in terms of the behavior towards women? Forget hashtag Me Too. It has had an impact. But if we can say what killed Me Too, I almost want to say Donald Trump killed hashtag Me Too. Because ultimately, him being brought back to power, despite everything that was known, Diddy pales in comparison when we talk about crimes. And yet, Trump will not be looked at as a reflection of all white people, nor white politicians, nor white businessmen, nor white billionaires. Diddy will be seen as an extension of black entertainment, and notably black males in entertainment. And I know, including some sisters, will extrapolate in turning Diddy as a reflection of any and every black man out there as a and likely perpetrator, predator, aggressor, you name it. We must stand against that. Diddy, aka Can't Stop, Won't Stop, because he became full of himself. I do not know, I'm not condemning him. I was never in the room, I was not a witness. Charges cannot be brought with so many people out of nowhere. And as such, look at how it's spilling, notably into the richest entertainer in the world. Uh, he's um, he's not just the richest black entertainer, the richest entertainer in the world, if I'm not mistaken, because I kind of keep tracks of those lists. Jay Z. Meanwhile, if you are honest, Jay Z, from a street pharmacist, anybody black understand what street pharmacist is, to rapper, to CEO, to billionaire, Jay Z is a success story of African Americans and of black people worldwide. And on top of that, he has a beautiful, talented wife. And the wealth is not just being passed on intergenerationally, but as we saw last week for the Netflix football premiere, the success is being passed down the wealth, but also the talent lines with Blue Ivy, I believe that's the name of the
Yeah.
now, performing alongside her mom, Beyonce. I am sorry. All my love and support to Jay Z and Beyonce, who, by the way, for those who do not know, support black causes as well, because they have a large white audience fan base. But no, black entertainment must not be limited or be perceived. Let us resist that racist temptation, that racist but also self hate temptation, that too many whites, but also some blacks and other non blacks and non Diddy does not equal black entertainment in the same way as you name it. Suge Knight did not equal black entertainment, or Dr. Dre having a history of domestic violence, or Snoop Dogg, a former gang member. I don't know if it's really former, but America's favorite rapper, Snoop Dogg, his negative antics don't reflect on all black people, as back in the 90s, Tupac and Biggie were not a reflection. Many like them, and we must address those issues. We must notably address how of the white woman in relationship married, having children with a black man, etc., etc. We must address all of these topics while not forgetting that indeed it is progress when we can have a Tyler Perry coming out with a movie as he did, the 6888, or, I forget the name, but
Now that's the name. That's the name. So just want to interrupt for a second. So Dr. Josh, yes, 6888 is the movie.
okay.
And she says she's heard great things. She says she'll be
Yes.
watching it tonight. Your number one fan, Michelle Baptiste, is in the room, says hello Sunday to all. She also says that Tom Hanks has been implicated.
I heard that too.
Yes. So another conversation piece I have then for you. How can we, Black individuals, balance holding celebrities accountable? Example, Diddy's arrest, while still celebrating Black excellence in entertainment.
That's excellent, but here is one fundamental problem. And this, I mean, we just talked about the number one cancer of the Black psyche, entertainment. To answer that, we got to talk about the second cancer, consumerism. It would seem that one of the greatest success of integration has been at the detrimental of Black consciousness, aka Black people seem unable to boycott. Black people seem unwilling to boycott brands that have insulted Black people. So, example, the Tommy Hilfiger insult to Black people turned out to be a false. But apparently, the Louis Vuitton remarks towards Black people, as far as I know, if I'm wrong, someone please correct me. But as far as I know, from what I know at this moment, the Louis Vuitton comments regarding Black people are still accurate. How many Black people are boycotting Louis Vuitton? How many of our Black people are boycotting any brand, notably H&M, when we remember the scandal about a child being portrayed as an explorer, the um, the Black child, something about King of the Jungle. How many Black people boycott? How many people raise Black consciousness to match consumerism, aka the power of the dollar? How many people, how many of our Black people we turn down going to a concert while at the same time complaining about poverty and the struggle, or living in the hood, Section 8, etc., etc.? How many of our Black people will dare to say, I'm going to not watch media, but I'm going to 6888 and dare to improve my Black pride, feed my Black pride, share my Black pride to my children? Church of my wife family, when he watched that movie, as he said, it's a slow start, but something hit him. He's the same age as Trump. He's of that generation, and he also grew up in New York. So, as he said, he's like, he knows Trump and the Trumps. They don't like them. Black men, Black people of his age, they don't like them. They know the racism. But when he was watching that movie by Tyler Perry, because him too, he knows Tyler Perry equals media. Too, he was flabbergasted. And even more flabbergasted. Why? He is of that age when he would have been, he was born in the time of the movie. So indeed, it did hit him. It did do a number on him in terms of him being thankful. So we have to elevate our Black choices based on our Black consciousness and match it with energy and dollar. We know so many of our Black people will spend money to watch the NBA game, the NFL game, and yet they be complaining about bills, just as they be complaining about the price of food for the children. To worry about bills and the price of food, putting any amount of money on entertainment or goods that devaluate should not even be something in your mind. It's catastrophic that we need to say this to adults who should know better, but it is a reflection of the environment in which people grew up in, live in terms of misplaced priorities. And this is where we find the state of Black entertainment, a state of Black entertainment where yesterday in our boys get together, where are the Black brands from the 90s, like Carl Kenai, that used to wear black, create Black urban outfits? They've been sold out. They've been bought out, sorry. They've been bought out and we don't see them anymore. As we are in the time of Kwanzaa, I purposefully wear Black pride outfits. People get surprised to see me wear them. People will talk Jesus. Some of our wannabe Black Jewish people will talk about Hanukkah and other celebrations. How many will celebrate Kwanzaa? How many on January 1st will drink a soup in honor of 1804 Haitian independence out of slavery, aka soup jumu? That consciousness that we are lacking just help to fuel further the overvaluing of Black people in entertainment, and as such, the over targeting and over victimization of Blacks as we remain being seen through the and the stereotypes. Donald Trump has done far worse than Diddy, but Donald Trump will never be equated to white politicians, white businessmen, white billionaires, white men as a whole. Diddy, because of what he did, if he truly did it, but in brackets, we saw the video of his behavior, aka beatings, violence, terrible violence, upon his ex-girlfriend, I think her name Cassie Ventura. So many people will look at it and claim, oh, that's Black men. You savages. You mistreat women. You don't love women. Some sisters will jump on the bandwagon in justifying swirling interracial relationships by default. And you know, I support interracial relationships depending on the nature of it. Never out of inferiority complexes and racial alienation. But this is something that will happen. So yeah.
In lieu of time, I'd like to go deeper on this, but we got one more subject, and I don't want to tax Cesar too much.
We got 2025 coming. We got a whole year.
So I'm gonna ask you then this in. Geez, there's so boy. We only got a limited amount of time. Okay, let's move on to the next. Our final.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So then finally, finally in the area of the entertainment, how can Black entertainment be used to challenge systemic racism, promote unity, and inspire progress?
I would call to answer Dr. Tachi. I will call to answer our sisters, Lala, and I apologize, I'm forgetting the name. Aisha. I will call to answer Dr. Umar Johnson. 2025. The answer to this question is very simple. It has already been answered. I wasn't born. You weren't born. The patriarch of my white family wasn't born either. Black Wall Street was there. So when we talk about how can Black entertainment contribute to the betterment of Black lives and of Black communities, where is Black Hollywood? Oprah is there. She made an appearance. Okay. Tyler Perry did this movie. Respect. Where is Black Hollywood? Why do we have Jay-Z whining about an award not received by his wife in an award created by whites, dominated by whites, run by whites? And you're a billionaire, bro. FYI, I don't. It's probably the first time of the year that I use the word bro.
Yes, it is. That's the first time, as long as I've known you, you use it.
My daughter would laugh if she heard me say bro. But you're a billionaire and you're literally being offended your wife didn't win an award. And even when we look at it, oh, honestly, I have mixed feelings about Cowboy Carter. I think that's what it's called, Beyonce.
Yeah, her country stuff.
Yes, it's not cultural appropriation. Black people invented country. She's taking it back, bringing it back,
I
bringing
know.
it back. Photo shoots that looks like she bleached her skin. That blonde white hair. Come on. That's a mockery appealing to a white fan base. Can you imagine if Eminem had gone to tan or gone Rachel Dolezal with an afro? That's what it is. So where is Black Hollywood? And even let's not forget Africa. Why does Nollywood, aka Nigerian Hollywood, and we need to stop this Nollywood, Bollywood, whatever. Hollywood is in the US. Find another name. Have some pride and dignity. Why are Nigerian movies still a little bit less? People have told me because I don't watch those movies. People have told me it is a little bit better. But why do the Nigerian movie industry still perpetrate the white narratives, the Christian person being the better person, the African spiritual person being the worse or the bad person, the lighter skinned woman, the one to marry, the darker skinned woman, the mistress or the one you reject or the one was ugly, the woman with the weave or the wig, the quality woman, the one with the natural hair and the African slash black hairstyles, the one to reject, the person with the dreads being looked at as a thug, as non-intelligent, and I shouldn't say dreads, locks, but the person with shaved, not shaved head, with short hair, acceptable in white spaces, being seen as professional. Where is our Black Hollywood? Where is our Black movie industry? Where is the distribution channel? We are having these billionaires. The richest Black person is in Nigeria, Aliko Dangote. We have Oprah. We have Robert Smith. We have Tyler Perry. We have Jay-Z. We have Mr. LeBron James. We have Tiger Woods with his 50 blonde white woman. What are they doing? Come on, come together. If they were Jewish, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I'm saying this because that's exactly what happened in the Jewish community, what, 2 centuries ago?
There's a book called the Empire. An Empire of their own. I can't. I'll get the name of the book in a moment. But Dr. Tachi has a laugh emoji about you saying "bro," and as she says, colonialism is a strong drug.
Colonialism is a strong drug. And as we talk about entertainment, please allow me positive note. Let's finish on a positive note. This will absolutely come off as a surprise to many people. In connection to the previous topics, when we look at the declining birth rate of whites in the Western world, Latinos are bound to become entered into the white race category. White Latinos, aka they already are white, they just speak Spanish or of Spanish culture. But another group that will be entered, and I'm saying this now, don't call me a prophet. This is basic political and racial demographics analysis. Aryans, white Indians, white from the area of Asian are bound to be entered. And for those who think, what is he talking about? Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is a white woman from India, but she's a white woman. She could be called Elizabeth Smith. If you didn't know it's Nikki Haley, she says her name is Elizabeth Smith, you believe it. But what did I say positive? Black consciousness is growing in the Latin world, notably in Brazil. And Black consciousness is growing in the country with the largest population in the world. Brother Vibe, do you know what country that is?
The largest population wise in the world?
Black consciousness is growing there.
India.
It is India. And I'm not just talking about the cities, aka the descendants of Africans enslaved in India. I'm talking about uh, the my God, is it Dravid? I'm having a little memory blank. I'm talking about indigenous Indians.
Uh-huh.
I are people to look up to Google Dark is Divine campaign, which address racism and colorism in Indian religion. I invite our people to look up this model. Her name is San Rechal, SAN space RECHAL, a in Indian woman who competed in a beauty competition in Africa representing Black India. I love it. This is the hope of our people. More Black consciousness turned into action, turned into positive images. Just as I'm saying this, I mean, the way algorithms work, I am being fed not to be what I look at. I see more and more white people, but also Asian people married to Black women or Black men, or having Black colleagues and Black friends, sharing, speaking up, posting, standing up more for the Black community. It's gonna be an interesting century.
Okay. The book, there was a book I was trying to think about that I recommend, especially Black content creators read. It's called An Empire of Our Own: How the Jews Invented Hollywood. That is a blueprint of how I've read it, and it's a great blueprint on how Black people can take control of content and the media industry. Just leave
And
it
at that time, Jewish people were not considered white. Anyone would doubt or think, what is he talking about? 1909. Look up the founders of the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People,
Yeah.
Blacks and Jews.
Okay. We got to make a decision here because we only got a few minutes left, and we have one of your favorite conversation topics to come.
Let's jump on it.
But I want to go in deep, brother, when we don't got the time to go in as much as I want us to go in.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. If we need to extend, I mean, I got a family to pick up, so I can't exactly.
Okay. How much time? Okay, how much time do you comfortably have?
If we go even 15 minutes past 7, and that's good by you, that's good by me.
Okay, let's go. All right, let's go.
Sure.
All right.
It's the last one of the year.
Okay, no problem. So let's talk about this. And are some of the biggest news stories for Blacks in 24: culture wars, whitewash versus EDI affirmative action, and Black progress. So I want to let's start with the culture wars business first. So how are Black identities be redefined in the face of cultural polarization and, quote, anti-woke agendas, unquote?
First of all, let me take the language of our hero, Brother Dr. Martin Luther King, who was the Reverend. I invite our listeners to go beyond the 1963 I Have a Dream speech that everybody knows, of course, but to listen to my favorite speech of him. 1967. I'm Black and beautiful and proud. 1967. And as such, I want to get the language right tonight. As he said, I am woke I am woke and proud. I will absolutely make sure my daughter and any other child, because I really want a son too, is woke. I don't play with that. I am woke. I don't wear these shades and I don't have these earrings and this necklace of Africa straight from the motherland. It's not for show, and I don't wear this for show. This was a recent acquire. For those who know what leopard skin means in African spirituality, and by African spirituality, look up the images of Kemet, ancient Egypt. You will see this. I am woke, and every black person who respect themselves should be woke. I am not talking about the purposeful confusion and misleading term that white conservative and white racist, because just because someone is a white conservative does not mean they're racist, but it's not an accident that it's so late. Do not confuse the term woke with the far left. I am a black man. I don't ascribe to the left and right um, spectrum of Western politics because from the very start, we have to be honest. Right wing government or right side of the political spectrum government or left side of the political spectrum, they haven't necessarily been good for black people nor for Africa and the Caribbean. So what ends up happening is that being woke is in the sense of our ancestors from 100 years ago, African Americans talking air and standing up against government oppression of black people. And as such, I am woke, and any black person who respect themselves should be woke. Do not confuse the term with the far left, as too often whites in power, white intellectuals purposefully do to confuse, to minimize, and to crush black consciousness. So when you ask this question, this is where notably us as black people, we must dare only grow into that consciousness, but to show it in action. Because what we're seeing here, it is the white lash, the backlash from white supremacists, white lash that basically is coming against black progress, but truly black consciousness. Where do you stand? And by where do you? Yes, if you're black, you're not black. There is a thing I remember, there is a saying that I remember. Any person, if you truly think you have white/slash non-black friends, a white/slash non-black husband, wife, whatever, boyfriend, start talking about slavery and colonization and systemic racism and see the reaction.
All right. Why do you feel so many corporations and institutions are scaling back on their EDI initiatives?
Simply because, so this is very interesting. The studies before, so when we're talking here about EDI, for too many people, including many consultants, by opportunism discovered EDI after George Floyd. Studies were already in place regarding EDI/DEI that companies actually have a higher return on investment when they bring in DEI/EDI measures in. Of course, the popular and overwhelmingly conservative narrative is to take extreme cases to point the fault at DEI/EDI initiatives, when the vast majority of cases actually show a better return on investment, improved workplace culture, because we dare to open the Pandora box to address the issues that need to be addressed. So here, why is it that these corporations are turning their back on DEI? Surprise, surprise, it is not for profit. Because as I said, the studies show profit-wise, and I give a perfect example. Look at Disney. Even I sometimes find that Disney pushes the envelope a little bit regarding DEI, EDI, and multiculturalism. But many of the hypocrites will complain about Disney didn't have an issue when Hollywood and Disney were whitewashing non-white stories. They didn't have an issue then. Now they have an issue with a black mermaid, when actually, if you think logically, it kind of makes a lot of sense that a mermaid would be black in the Caribbean than white in the Northern Sea, freezing to death half of the year. Now, that said, these corporations are not doing this for profit. Many corporations have had record profits even as we are speaking of inflation, economic hard times, culture wars, distrust of government and institutions, and growing loneliness among people. Many of these companies have had record profits. It's not for profits. It's the other P when we talk about corporations. Just as the saying in marketing about the importance of location. You can have a great product, but if you're in the middle of nowhere, nobody knows your product. Your competition, which is in the right location, the product may suck, but they're in the right location, they will have traffic. The other P is positioning. And they're doing positioning due to the arrival of Trump, aka they want to be in the good graces of the government to come, knowing the ideological policies of that government. It is highly hypocritical, but it should be no surprise. It should be no surprise, just as 4 years ago, it's not the fact that George Floyd got killed that moved them. It's because millions of people around the world went to protest, not even against police brutality, but went to protest because a minutes and a half video recorded by a very brave Shiro of 17 years old. That little girl changed history. And excuse me, 4 years ago, that young woman changed history. She changed history daring. This is the courage I speak about. She is a continuation of the 1960s freedom riders. She is a continuation of that black activist, that school teacher in the South, daring to pass on knowledge and tactics to our black people. She is a continuation of Harriet Tubman. So these corporations are moving because economics is not, I'm trying to get the term right. Economics is more of an emotional science than it is of a rational science. 4 years ago, the moving towards DEI, EDI was greatly spurred through global protests for hashtag Black Lives Matter, aka the global movement against police brutality and systemic racism, not the organization. 4 years later, the pushback against DEI, EDI measures is coming with the arrival of not only Donald Trump, but more conservatives coming to power, and notably the nature of the Supreme Court. But as well, looking at the Western world leaning further to the right due to falling demographics for white people, loss of culture due to the nature of democracy, which works in number. This is also part of the reason why a nation such as Israel has the most far right government it ever had, which is notably wanting to enshrine that Israel is a Jewish nation. From the moment you do that, it becomes a separation between religion and state, and as such, you no longer have a democracy. It's the same thing that's happening here with these corporations. They are basically just riding the wave of what to them seems in the best interest. And right now, it is not profit, it is positioning, which is the same thing a certain Elon Musk has been doing despite getting millions, or maybe I should even say billions if I'm not mistaken, in government grants by the United States government, and notably um, Department of Defense and NASA, and totally
SpaceX,
positioning and,
SpaceX.
and totally positioning himself for Trump in the name of his interests, not the interest of the American people, as America will find out. And definitely, if it's not in the interest of America, of the American people, one can strongly doubt it will be in the interest of Black people.
Okay. All right. Just want to shout out Eves Joseph and Kiana Mahmood. Thank you for liking the conversation. Let's take maybe one more thing. So then, what strategies can be deployed to preserve and strengthen EDI efforts in a climate of backlash?
Ah, kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Um, it's an interesting irony. Trump is actually a good thing for DEI, EDI. People unfortunately learn, and I don't want to use this reference from slavery, learning with the harshness of the whip. But in hard times, that's when people wake up, take action, say, this is enough. I must do something. One of the fundamental mistakes of the Kamala Harris and Tim Walz campaign is to be too moralistic, a la Michelle Obama, when they go low, etc. Please, that's childish. The lack of realism killed the campaign in lacking to focus more on the economy. But here, when we talk about EDI, well, it's quite simple. And notably for those Blacks who voted for Trump, aka voting against their own self interest. But not just Black people. Again, a majority of women are Pacific. White women voted for Trump, despite all his antics, notably on women. I hope the Trump campaign succeeds, as I said earlier. But at the same time, what will happen in regards to EDI? Look, we've been telling you the PowerPoint is there, the study is there. Now look at the growth of the inequalities. Look at how this issue and that issue are no longer being addressed. Look at how, and some of our female listeners in the United States will know this better than I do. Look at how it is being pushed upon Joe Biden that before he leaves office, technically January 19, that he signs what would be the 28th Amendment regarding gender equality. Because we, the people, did not include, there were three large groups that we, the people, did not include: Blacks, women, and indigenous. The fear is growing. I refuse to do the fear politics that the left does, just as I refuse to do the rage politics that the right does. But it is undeniable that before even January 20th, the discomfort, the fear has grown. And Dr. Vibe, you are in Toronto as we talk about EDI. Why is there a growth of interest of many Americans, obviously, especially white Americans, to move to Canada? Because they are clearly seeing step backs to what was taken for granted. And this is where one of the fundamental notions that must never be forgotten. Never take for granted the successes of yesterday, because any tomorrow they can be taken away. And this is why I invite you to the memory of our ancestors, our glorious African American ancestors, African ancestors, Black ancestors worldwide. I invite you to be woke. This is, as we speak about Trump and politics, but also of Pierre Poilievre, likely coming to power in Canada. As we speak of entertainment, beyond Diddy and the young NFL-bound player, Travis Hunter and his white wife. This is why, as we speak of the Whitewash and culture wars against ADI, DEI, and Black progress, I invite you to be woke. It's my wish for our people, our brothers and sisters, but also allies, and notably the growing number of whites, Asians, and other non-blacks in relationships with Black people, boyfriend, fiancé, married, common law, heterosexual, LGBTQ couple, I don't care. And notably friends and colleagues, dare to be woke. This presidency and the years to come will test who you claim to be and what you claim to be when you say, I'm not racist, but I'm not sexist, but I'm not homophobic, but I'm not, but you will be tested to hold yourself true to who and what you claim to be. Just as those who put Trump to power, many of them had already come out of the closet in 2016.
I think we're going to end it right there. I think it's a good way to end it right there.
Happy Kwanzaa to everyone.
Yes, happy Kwanzaa to everyone. Myself and Cesar are gonna. There's parts of this we didn't get to that I think we need to continue this conversation next time. But I always look after my brother's health first, and I know he's pushed through this. I don't want, and plus he has to pick up his family. So as we finish up, if you want to get a hold of Cesar, email address president@rootsandculturecanada.com. Facebook.com, Cesar Emery. Also want to say to people here, Michelle Baptiste, thank goodness for Czar's logic to ring in. Should be 2025, 2925. We could wish we could live that long, but it's 2025. All right. And also, as we finish up here, it's a great conversation, and there's so much more to come. I'm going to do this. So, more comments here. We got, yes, 2025, Michelle, absolutely. Dr. Tati says, this was great. Thanks, Cesar. All right, good stuff. We're going to end off here with a few last things. Let's do it. Let me get to it. Here we go. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of, please email me dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. And also, if you want to watch replays of this epic conversation, go to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website, the dr.vibeshow.com. And I have just found out former American President Jimmy Carter has passed away today at 100 years old. True humanitarian.
Yes.
So, Cesar, I want to say thank you for making Black Canada Talking the epic conversation it is. Looking forward to more of it in 2025. As always, Cesar put, thank you, Michelle, Dr. Tachi, everyone. Happy New Year, 2025, safety and love. Yes, be woke. All right. Maybe that's Cesar should have that hashtag after all his posts. Yes, be woke. All right. So as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And finally, if you're not making money, make history.